morning from Florence, South Carolina. My name is Brian Hughes, and one of the things I want to just briefly introduce is a book by Father Mike Breen entitled Speak Out, where he takes a look at how to take the content of the good news, come to understand the context of where it is we seek to share it, either as people from a pulpit or lay people in the workplace or in their neighborhoods or wherever, and then how to do so in a way that the material, it's called a conversion, but really how to have an impact, that it's received and heard in ways in a culture that's, do I even need to say it, becoming ever more hostile to the good news. So, as I say, introduce this book, Speak Out. There's a lot to it, but the piece I want to highlight, and I think it's appropriate that I'm out here walking along, because one of the things that Father Breen did was he took a look at the work of Joseph Campbell, Hero of a Thousand Faces. You know, the guy who influenced, some late 70s, 3-part space opera that is still a phenomenon, which is, of course, Star Wars. George Lucas got together with Joseph Campbell to write Star Wars, that 3-part series, as kind of the mono-myth. But what Mike did is he took a look at Scripture and wondered if the story approach of the hero's journey could be found in the characters of the Bible. And lo and behold, it is, which is normal life, an invitation, a call to an adventure with God. There are companions who come along the way. There is the mentor, which of course is God. There's always an antagonist. You know who that is, and his minions. And then eventually there is a completion and celebration of a particular part of the journey. So the 3 main parts are a call, an invitation to come. We see Jesus say that in this coming Sunday's text in John's Gospel, when he says to Andrew and the disciple, come and see. And then the next 3 years are all about the challenge of growing as disciples. And then at the end of Matthew, go. Basically share what you've learned over the last 3 years. Call, invitation, the challenge, and then the completion. Now, not only does this work well to kind of delve around into Scripture and to see these parts, it's fun to do this in Bible studies, by the way, but it's also an extraordinary way to convey the story today, which is we begin with identification so that the hearers understand that we understand their lives. We've contextualized it. The story before the story, as Calvin Miller used to say. And then we invite them to come on this journey of exploring the Scriptures. And once they cross that threshold, we then invite them down into something called differentiation, the challenge of the Bible. And then as that's dealt with, we begin to see and bring back to a celebration, the conclusion. Now, this is just a really quick introduction as I'm walking, and I highly recommend the book, obviously, or I wouldn't be doing this. But this whole idea of how our culture, particularly Western culture, has been shaped since at least the 1970s. And once you understand the formula, you see it essentially all movies. In fact, they can get kind of boring because you know what's coming next. But anybody under the age of about 50, certainly kids, young people, have all been shaped in this approach of storytelling. So, to take a great old word, it behooves us to inculcate the faith in ways that can be heard and shared in this time. So the book is called Speak Out by Father Mike Breen, which, by the way, I found discipling culture materials from the Anglicans a whole lot easier to translate as a Lutheran than just about anybody else's. So there's an aside. But I invite you to take a look at it if you've not seen it. If you want to reach out to me and we can have a conversation. Christine and I, my wife, were privileged to be coached in this material as Mike was writing it. And I've shared it with really a number of people since then. And I think it's a great way to convey the good news into a culture that has lost the story, into our congregations that have lost the missional narrative, and to do it in a way that just makes sense. So I hope this was helpful as an introduction from Florence, South Carolina. And now I need to go find some place to get a haircut, and then figure out how to get my car worked on, and all those other attendant things you do whenever you move. So take care. Maybe I'll talk to some of you about this book. Bye-bye.